great to be joined by these two gentlemen. Mark Drumheller does amazing work over there at Yahoo Sports, and likewise for Dan Stupp over at Action Network. Gentlemen, great to have you aboard, and this is going to be a very interesting fight card. And Dan, want to lead it off with you. Outside of the main event card, which for a fight night is really good. I mean, being able to get the Volkov fight, having Petr Yan on there, I think that that's relatively solid. But is there anything that is on the undercard that you think might be of intrigue?
Yeah, no, there's a guy I jumped on early, Cedric Dumas. A lot of sharps that I like. Kind of pointed that out earlier in the week. I think you can still find a decent line for him. He's fighting a guy, Josh Frem. I think it's a tough test for Dumas, but I think it's actually going to be a winnable fight just because Frem is so hittable. But one of the things I really like about this card is there's, I think, a lot of underdogs that are worth maybe at least sprinkling on, and the prelims have quite a few. Lucas Bredsky at plus 200. There's a women's fight. I actually like the under in it, but Ariane Lipsky, she's about plus 300. I like her too, but like I said, I really like the under in that fight. And then one of the first fights of the night, we've got Tyson Dann, just a hard-hitting guy. He's always a live dog. I understand why he's the underdog, but I think it's playable. So I don't know. I know a lot of times in MMA we're kind of on the solid favorites, and people are looking to package together a big parlay with a lot of favorites. But if you like the dogs, I think there are a lot of playable pieces on this card, especially on the prelims.
And I'm so glad that you brought up Tyson Nam, because Mark, that's one of your guys on the card, as it is Bruno Silva versus Tyson Nam, and Nam about a plus 165 to a plus 170 underdog. What caused you to take a little bit of a flyer here on Nam?
Yeah, I think Dan hit the nail on the head. It's really his knockout power. And, he's done a pretty good job against wrestlers. We know Bruno Silva's going to come forward, try and put some body shots on him, utilize his grappling. But Nam's a guy, he's been in there. Again, dynamite in his hands. And, I just really think that he's going to be able to cut off the cage, stay upright. And really, punish, Bruno Silva on the feet, whether, it ends in a finish. You could take a shot at Nam KO plus 330, is a real decent price, but we're already getting the plus 170 here with Nam. And I think it's, a coin flip fight at worst. Like, I really think that Nam, has a shot to finish the fight. But if not, I do think that he's a live underdog for sure.
I do agree with you. And let's take a look at this one, because they're thinking that there is going to be a very early finish in this one. Ryan Spann is going to be taking on Nikita Krylov, with Krylov being about anywhere between a minus 160 to a minus 180 favorite. Open up at minus 170. So we've been seeing a lot of action from book to book in terms of this one. And the total, or the bronze prop, it is going way down. At 1.5, the under is between minus 175 and minus 180. I will lead off with you, Dan. How do you view this one? And do you think we're going to be getting the early finish that everyone is anticipating?
I'm hoping for it just because of the way I played it. But this is an odd fight. It was actually booked 2 weeks ago, and then it was supposed to headline a card. Krylov got sick. They said it was a foodborne illness. I assume after 2 weeks he's probably recovered from that. But honestly, I didn't have a super strong read on the fight 2 weeks ago. You throw in the short notice rebooking, and I'm probably even a little more lost in trying to pick a side. But if you want some action, we do a thing at the Action Network called the MMA Prop Squad, where we really focus on kind of longer shot prop bets. One of them I really like is Spann via first round submission. I feel like if he's going to win, he's probably going to do it early. You could probably catch Krylov getting a little desperation takedown or just kind of during the transition. You can get plus 1,000, plus 1,100 on that. Again, I probably wouldn't be sticking a full unit on it and making it one of your primary plays. But if you want a fun bet on what should be a very action-heavy fight that could go a lot of different ways, I think there's worse ways to play that than the plus 1,100 for the first-round submission for Spann.
And how do you view this fight, Mark? Because I do think that it's a very fascinating one, and one that I think is going to be wrapped up relatively quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure. I was on Krylov the last time. I'm back on him again here in the money line. I just think that he's the more active fighter. He's going to be the minute winner here. He's going to be able to win rounds just with his output alone. He has good kicks from range, has a nice head kick as well. He's going to bring the fight to Spann. Now, listen, a guy like Spann, always dangerous, right? So there's always that opportunity. He gets clipped with a KO or, tries to, transition into his grappling. gets caught in the guillotine with Spann. But I just really think that those are pretty unlikely scenarios here. I think that Krylov's the guy who's going to overwhelm him. The move that 215 as far as up in weight really doesn't bother me. Would I like it to be 5 rounds instead of 3? Sure, with a guy like Krylov who's going to wear out Spann, definitely. But I think in 3 rounds he can still get the job done here. So I'm still in Krylov. It hasn't moved me that much. I was on the money line last time, got voided out, so we're right back on the money line this time.
And how about if we take a look at the Battle of Alexanders? Alexander Romanov and Alexander Volkov are going to be doing battle. This is another one with a round prop of 1.5. Juice on the over on this one at more around minus 175 or so, unlike the other one where the under juice was super duper high. We'll start with you, Dan, on this one. How do you view the Battle of 2 Alexanders?
It's a tough fight to figure out. Ultimately, I think what swung me was that this fight's taking place in the smaller UFC cage. The UFC uses 2 different ones, and there's been some research into it. Obviously with the smaller cage, you can expect more finishes. Especially for a huge, big heavyweight guys like this, especially Volkov. That guy just towers over the cage. I think that smaller cage is going to work against him. I think it's going to help Romanov get the fight to the ground early. Again, I like him on the money line. I think, minus 165. I'd probably even split the bet and take him inside the distance of plus 120. Honestly, if I think he wins, it's probably more likely that he wins inside the distance. The longer the fight goes on, the more it definitely values Volkov. I'm on him pre-fight. Like I said, I got him on the money line. I split it and did an inside the distance bet, but honestly, it's one of those bets where after the first round, it may be looking like a really bad bet just because I think Volkov could take over. I'd probably be keeping an eye on it in the live markets, maybe try to hedge off if I'm getting a bad vibe from it. But I like Romanov to take this one and hopefully get it done early.
And Mark, how about if we throw at you the main event on this one, as it is going to be Merab Dvalishvili and it's going to be Petr Yan taking him on, and Yan is the big favorite, minus 260 to minus 265. We are seeing a very high round prop at DraftKings. The over on 4.5 rounds is minus 205. So you're seeing a whopper here. They're saying that this is going to be coming down to the judges' scorecard. How do you view this fight? Because we've seen a rather big line move as Yan opened up more roundabout of minus 170.
Yeah, I really like Yan here. I think we know what we're going to get with Merab. He's going to try and stick to him like glue. He's just going to be relentless, tunnels in with his takedowns. It's just rinse and repeat. He's just going to keep going after Yan. But Yan's a pretty good wrestler. It's the guy who took down Aljamain Sterling 6 times, does it in several different ways, uses a lot of trips, a lot of sweeps, to get the fight to the ground if he wants to. But I think he's going to be able to keep his distance here with Merab and really piece him up on the feet. There's just a massive advantage. Especially over 5 rounds. Merab hasn't been, in a 5-round fight before. Yan, obviously, very experienced there. So I think there's a lot of value. I played Yan on the money line again. I'll probably play some KO prop at plus 250. I think that makes sense over, over a course of 5 rounds. I think Yan can finish this fight.
And then just real quick, do you have anything on this fight when it comes down to it, Dan?
Yeah, I think he nailed the breakdown, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on the stoppage and inside the distance props. And I'm probably going to end up playing Peter late round stoppages. You can get those plus 300 or plus 1,300 to plus 2,500 for a stoppage in round 3, 4, 5. So I love the inside the distance, the underplays in this, and I do like Yan. I've got him in a parlay from earlier in the week.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.